Hello everyone, thank you for coming today. We wanted to speak to you about what we think is one of the most important changes when it comes to agricultural production going forward and future agricultural prices. How many people in this room know about sunspots and solar cycles? Anybody? A couple of hands I see. To try to kind of go over in simplistic terms, the sun goes through a 10-year cycle where it goes through no sunspots and then it fires up a lot of sunspots. And this modulation allows the sun to provide a very consistent, steady solar radiation to the Earth. This keeps the planet in relatively good balance and keeps our weather patterns in a normal variation from what we would expect and what we've experienced most of our lives. However, about every 200 years, the sunspots cycle changes dramatically and is called the grand solar cycle minimum. This is when the sunspots don't fire as much as they did before. In fact, they only fire up as much as only 1/3 of normal. And the troughs that we go into extend 2 to 3 times longer. When that happens, solar radiation hitting the Earth drops off dramatically, and it sets off a tremendous cascade of events and changing variables for weather. And what it does is it's an amplification. It's almost like taking a magnifying glass and takes normal weather volatility and blows it right out. That is where we are right now. We haven't had one of these, as I said, in over 200 years. The trough has just begun, and this is going to set off not only for the next 5 years, but for the next 10, 20, and 30 years, weather volatility the likes that none of us have ever seen. When we look at history and we look at what has happened when we've had this in the past, it has meant global crop yields have gone flat to down for an extended period of time. And it's also meant that the quality of the crops have gone down significantly. This is going to be a feature in our markets, and it's something that is going to start happening. In fact, it's already starting to happen right now. We've seen major winter kill in the U.S., record cold temperatures in Europe. We're now dealing with a drought in Argentina, an ongoing drought in the Midwest. We're already beginning to see the extreme nature of what the grand solar cycle minimum is all about. And what we want to try to tell everyone, and what we want to try to convey to everyone, is that this is a time that you're going to have to consider and modulate your marketing, how you go about selling your crops, how you go about pricing your crops, the mechanisms that you do it for, and you're going to have to get ready for what we think are going to be dramatically higher prices. Right now, as everybody knows, we've been dealing with a 4-year bear market in agricultural prices, lots of supply, and everyone thinks that there's no hope for the future. But what we're here to tell you is that all the things that we're looking at suggest that we're heading for a 2006 to 2008 style move higher in price, and a 2010 to 2012 move higher in price, where prices tripled to quadrupled depending upon the market we were looking at. So this is not a time to be complacent. This is not a time to get caught up in overselling your crop, over-marketing your crop, which is what many analysts will be telling you to do that right now. This is a time to take a step back and really think through what it is that you want to do with yourself. I remember in 2006, how many people remember 2006 before the big move? I remember that piles of corn all over Nebraska, all over the Midwest. And many of the farmers had sold 2 to 3 years out as prices for corn, for example, went from $2.50 to $8. We had customers that were selling $2 corn and cash prices were $8. That's painful. We don't want to see that happen to anyone in this room, and we want to make sure everyone is cognizant of remaining to the upside, keeping yourself in the game to the upside. If you make some sales, make sure you have those sales covered. That's very important right now. You want to remain wide open to the upside. So more specifically, what does this mean for weather over the next couple of years? There's a very reliable trend when we deal with solar cycles. It's called the La Nina to El Nino flip. We are in the process of going through a weak La Nina into a El Nino right now. And when we go through this phase, it means significant problems in Asia. We would be looking towards Asia later in the year for some serious drought problems, some serious production problems, and very significant drivers to our market. And we're already seeing that, if you remember 2012, the 1 in 100 year drought, everybody remember that? That was a La Nina to El Nino flip. That's why the U.S. is so dry right now. That's why Argentina is so dry right now. So remember, weather is going to be very volatile, very bullish for price. Make sure, whatever you do not oversell and keep yourself unprotected to the upside. Thank you.